It's scary.
Are we supposed to roll vote when we have a Zoom thing? So I feel like just stop. I'm gonna see if I can log into some of the messaging and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Oh, email.
Okay, sounds good. There you go.
Linda, can you hear us?
Linda Allen is on there. She usually. Is the volume up on her? It's moving around, so I think it's. Yeah. It's not us. Oh, yeah. All right, everybody, it's fall this evening. Well, so we're gonna start with like.
One nation. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start with, we have no guest speakers tonight, but we'll start with public comment. If you have anything you want to share with council, either online or here in the room, you can just join us at the podium, or we have a person in the room. We'll start with that, and then if we have anything online, we'll call on them. So please go ahead and come up to the podium. I know it's kind of a scary setup, but we are all normal, regular people, so we'd like to hear from you.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne Snell. I live at 706 Broadway. I'm just concerned about the four-way stop by Quick Trip. I've gotten hit 3 times by cars walking across. There's no crosswalks. And I just am concerned because I have grandkids now. So if I'm walking, I don't want to get hit. So I want to know if there's something we can do to prevent, you know, the cars going by. I mean, I walked last night with my daughter and we were in the middle of the crosswalk and a car just flew right by us. If I would have stepped backwards, he would have ran me over. And I've reported it, but I mean, you can't do that because they're already gone, so.
Right. Everybody in this room is concerned about that intersection.
It's crazy, it's bad.
So that's a state highway crossing a county road, so it's not a city street, but I can help you with a complaint process.
Okay.
I know Tony's helped me with that before, so I gave you my contact, and I'll just send me
Yeah,
yours, and then we'll
okay.
work together on a complaint
I
process.
will do that.
But we tried to make other measures, you know, it's just saying when you came in, the camera on the fire hall captured some scary trucks passing through,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that lighted stop is an improvement, it's not a crosswalk.
Right, one night, me and my son were walking home. And a semi truck came down from the hill and actually did a U-turn right in the fort, and I'm like, that's scary. But he did flip all the way around.
It's busy. I've heard other complaints to help other people with that process, but I know if I don't know how to do it, I phone me. Okay, so we appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you.
We have a pretty short meeting, but you don't feel like you have to stay.
Okay.
Until you're not interested anymore. Anybody else, anyone online want to make a public comment?
Jeff just arrived.
Okay, great. So we've got all.
I just want to speak for her concern.
Yeah, please, Dean, go ahead.
Along with her concern, I have received a call about, coming from the west side towards Dick's Fresh Market. There are no fog lines there, and the cars are now progressing over on further on the shoulder where the people are walking, so I think we should look at that at the same time as we look at it.
Sure.
So,
The lighting on the intersection too is really bad.
yeah.
Really bad. Yeah.
I'm gonna
Cause you
send
got
this on,
people
you know.
walking right there, that intersection where that turn lane is. Yeah. You don't see them till you're right on top of it. I know.
Yeah, very good. All right, so
All right, thank
we'll
you.
add to your complaint. How's that?
Hi, everybody.
Thank you so much. I see Jeff, I don't see anybody else. So with that, do you have any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, I just have my. Oh, yeah, that's really small. All right, I'll keep it short. This is our penultimate meeting. We'll have a big farewell and happy New Year's and all that next time, but I didn't think back as we were looking at this preparation for the budget discussion, and I want to say thank you so much to everybody in the departments, department heads, all of our staff, our seasonal staff, all of our commissioners and board members, our seasonal help. It's really been an incredible year. I think everybody should feel really proud of everything that was accomplished. And we have deep appreciation as members of council for how much goes into running a city, but especially in a year with big projects. So that's been rewarding. And I think it's been really cool to see donations come in for the athletic field. You know, we have the authority to tax people, but we should never expect that they'll donate to big projects, and to see some of those roll in is really wonderful. We had a nice weekend and warm weekend in Wabasha. I want to thank the Wabasha Main Street Organization, their board, and the Chamber of Commerce and the Walton Group. They hosted the mayor's tree lighting. I get lots of thank yous, like to the city, thanks to city council for this. And I say, well, we don't do anything. We just are happy to be there when it's hosted so nicely. But I know that Public Works gets it ready beforehand. So if you didn't get a chance to be there, it was really well attended. There were a ton of kids this year, and it was a beautiful night. So I know there's burn barrels get put in place, of course, the tree, and it gets bigger and more beautiful every year. And then Santa was very busy. He was there with Mrs. Claus out of the bridge, but he was also at the library, and there was a huge attendance there as well. So that was a wonderful event. We've had some great developer tours. Caroline's going to say a little bit more about that. And I want to thank Dusty and Kathy with CETA for marketing our properties, because we've had, how many people have reached back, how many groups? 1, 2, 3, 4 already. Developer groups that want to have tours of the community, and they've all been really positive in their response. And then, as I mentioned, this isn't our last meeting for the year. Mark your calendars for December 19th at 6 p.m. for the truth and taxation meeting, which is here at City Hall. And with that, I'll go on to the committees. You guys have utilities yesterday?
We did, we just met to pay the bills.
All right.
Is how we did.
Could you pin J and J down for next year? For that
We
another
didn't
term?
we didn't even discuss that.
Okay, well, we'll pin it down eventually. And 4:30, that's last one.
Yeah, I won't steal Caroline's thunder with respect to the housing. We met, third Tuesday of every month. We had the formal introduction of Dusty Liston. She's our new CETA rep. In the month she's been here, we're kind of back up to full speed and going. Even though that was her official first meeting, what she'd already done in advance of that was quite impressive. Included that night was her work plan, and we approved her work plan for the year. Barge terminal update, we might even move sand this year. So I'll keep the word might in that, but I think that's we're really that close to making things happen. So from 2017 to 2023, finally in the process of managing that problem, making it an asset to the community. Lots going on with the housing, but I think I'll leave that to you. Otherwise, that's about it. And I'll the investment tour, you wanna talk about that? 'Cause capital
Yeah, you
investment.
should,
I should,
yeah.
I thought Mayor was.
Oh, we can also. we will
She
on the bus.
was the one that really, yeah, so, the Senate, Capital Investment Committee was here touring our bonding request with respect to Highway 60 reroute, as well as, some language changes for the prior bonding award that we got with respect to the Eagle Center and the riverfront revitalization. Some familiar faces on the tour bus, which was really kind of nice. They know us and they really kind of got to the point and were able to really pinpoint what our desires were and gave them a tour of the site. We're able to speak about this up here, our new athletic field. I thought that was quite good. And then went to Eagle Center for a presentation as well. If there's anything else you want to mention.
No, just that Jeff's on, both, Carla Nelson and John Krasinski, who, Carla used to represent Wabasha, and John Krasinski's on transportation, chairs transportation, very familiar with this kind of a project. We met with Jeff and John, I met with them at the CGMC Legislative Advocacy Day last spring, and they were right back up to speed. We walked away from that maybe not knowing if they understood what we were after, because we had blended this project with the barge terminal, which maybe was a little clunky, but they seem to have good questions. Carla pulled me aside and remembered us, so.
Yep.
So it's good to have those same people back to,
Yeah.
well, actually physically here, so,
Yeah.
And Senator Drazkowski was here as well, representing the district. He wasn't on the bus, but good to have him too.
It's nice to see the support. And
Yeah,
I
we
was
support there.
falling behind in my minivan, and then everyone wanted to come in my minivan. I was like, oh dear God.
Every parent was in car seats.
Quick, no, clean the van. But my favorite part was when they were at an intersection and the semi was trying to make a turn and heading toward the bus. And I was like, go, go. So yeah, we were able to kind of demonstrate how clunky it is to have semis making all these turns throughout the community. So that was.
Yeah, and we'll have to pin down the actual number we think of estimated trucks. Brian told us 4,000. I'm thinking that's vehicles across the.
No, I think it's 4,000.
Okay, because when we mentioned, John said hundreds, it's not just trickling like this, it's over the course of the day, and they have hundreds of trucks at this intersection, and they can appreciate it's not a good truck route, so. Yeah. Anything from fire? Okay, and Riley's gonna do streets? Yep. Excellent, so much to hear.
Park board did not meet last month. And today streets met and they approved the snow hauling rates. Dankworks is the contractor again this year. We discussed the possibility of snow removal for Main Street, but that would be next year. And our tandem is complete, it's just a minor repairs we have to make.
All right, thank you. Anything from ambulance, Brian, that wants to know about? About the budget stuff, good. And planning.
We talked about a bunch of miscellaneous updates, so which I think will probably come to council in February. We'll have a public hearing on. We talked a little bit about PU standards, frontage definition, yards definition, solar garden standards, shoreland overlay standards. Parkland dedication fee and off-street parking, so all those.
Stuff you think.
Yeah, some of them were just adding a definition, but I believe we'll probably tackle all this at public hearing in January, and probably come to council.
All right, then we'll hear Carolyn's report. She's nicely shared with us already, but any highlights?
Yeah, just, so right now, I think it's gonna be early January that we'll start the winter haul with the Army Corps, and that's just basically, we're a passer agency, the Coners are probably gonna be hauling sand from the Wabasha gravel pit to the Dairy Queen pits. And we will earn $2.40 per cubic yard on that haul. Cause someone asked me recently, what's the number? We did, yeah, so, we should start making money. And, I spelled haul wrong, but, so I went through an inspection with the Army Corps recently, and I need to contact Dietrich to find out spring load numbers and all things. I'm out of my depth, but that's being the city administrator, so, but it's fine. I think I'm excited to have this partnership start so that the port can start making money. We're in the final steps with FEMA funding. Today, we learned concerning news that potentially the FEMA project manager may have forgotten about several of our reimbursement requests and not uploaded it to the system. But we are following up, and our state person, Riley, reached out to him, and he has contacted FEMA and said, let's meet ASAP, because I think the deadlines to submit everything are like this week. We could maybe request an extension. The other thing I wanted to bring up the group is they've asked us for evidence. We were trying to get new riprap covered near the bridge there. Dean has asked that to be put in the capital improvement project, and they asked us to prove that part of the river is actually our responsibility to care for, and number two, evidence that we've been maintaining that area. And so when Riley had informal conversations, it does not appear that this will get approved. But we could still try to go through an appeal process. And the other thing is they were asking us for more records on the skateboard park. We were trying to get that entire skateboard replaced and improved. And there's just one center section that's floated away that's worth about $40,000. So I think we're just gonna go for the center section and just cut our losses on that. So stay tuned. And then I've been working on just listening to webinars for that $2.5 million merit grant. It looks like we'll have to adopt some human rights policies and do some community engagement. So I'll be working on looking at that. And then Mayor Duran and I have hosted a number of housing developers in Wabasha, and mainly people are interested in our downtown site, the Grandpa's Bar and Food Share parking lot site. And then Tyler and I have been finishing HVAC grants for Extreme Image, West Side Tavern, and Broken Paddle. And after that, I think we just have Fresh Walk, and then we'll be done. So, and then I look back and we'll end up getting $10,000 roughly in reimbursements on our salaries for working on this project. So that'll be nice for the city. So.
Yeah, your comment about, maybe an appeal, we had an interesting meeting too, it was too near to this meeting to get it on the agenda, but the Minnesota Association for Small Cities called on us. They made I thought a really pragmatic case for us to consider membership. Their membership is really, I thought maybe they were small, they're actually second in size in terms of representation after the league, and when he explained it, I thought, well, that makes total sense. There are lots of metropolitan small cities too, when Lauderdale is like 2,000, Wayzata is only 5,000, there's many small cities in the Sun County Metro. So they made a point that, there's gonna be some road funding that will be fought over because everybody wants it, and the large cities will have their own lobbyists, and they will work hard to get more of the pot because they have plenty of roads to take care of, like everybody, but they deserve a lot of money, but so do small cities. So he asked us to consider being represented by Minnesota Small Cities, with the point that the league representing everyone won't take a stance on that, understandably. And Greater Minnesota will say, hey, it would be like a Metro versus Greater Minnesota future, Greater Minnesota fight, which isn't really what's at stake. It's really about small and big cities meeting here, equal share for roads. So that alone probably pays for our membership. He also gave us some good free advice about FEMA. It was just validating to kind of complain about these federal processes and have him say, I talk to our federal delegation all the time about these issues. These agencies don't understand the capacity of small cities. Think about what townships would have to do. And FEMA claim. So he's also made the point that the small cities does a lot of advocating at the federal level. And just some good strategy. We asked, should we be trying to work our way into both the House and Senate side of their Congress and Senate side of things from a federal allocation? He said no, our delegation gets along quite well, and so he thought having it in Klobuchar's, having Klobuchar submit it was just fine. But also thought, let's get Wabasha on the map with regards to FinStat's agenda, because with regard to the bureaucracy of programs like the USDA, FinStat was with USDA. So just kind of, I think that they would be really assist us a lot. He also asked, which I think is a good question, are you thinking about cannabis? So this is just a rhetorical for the next couple of months. They've seen some communities going kind of pearl clutching a little bit about this, and there's not really a great reason for that. There are others that really want to have the dispensary in their community as a business opportunity. his advice was just make sure your alcohol and tobacco is in good shape, and it probably then is good enough for cannabis. So as you're thinking about that, or if citizens are asking you about it, or you're educating yourself, that's kind of his high level view on the cannabis issue, so.
Were we not a member of that? Once
We sure could have been, yeah,
I thought we were.
yeah, we sure could have been, maybe just
So
while
I
this got dropped.
got the email from them all back.
And I do too, and they have good
Yeah.
webinars, and every time I sign up for one, it says, are you a member? I would say, are you? So,
We were.
okay, yeah, so we currently aren't. But,
And
yeah.
they do get really good feedback and stuff.
It's within reach and all the advocacy we can get. Caroline had also posed the question, should we be working with a lobbyist and kind of explain what we've done? And it sounds like he thinks our strategy is strong, and he said, maybe you don't need a lobbyist, but
I think it was like a couple thousand a year.
yeah, it's not. It's
Yeah.
1,300.
50 cents per 50% of your residents.
Yeah.
So it's 13.
Yeah, I thought it was well worth it.
Yeah.
But
So we're gonna ask them to present, but I think that's more of a getting to know them again, for those of us that didn't have a relationship, because it makes
I
a lot of
just
sense.
assumed we were still on. I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure we got away from it.
Scott drops them sometime. All right, we have a consent agenda. We have the 2024 squad car purchase, our November regular council minutes, the December warrants, the chamber's gambling permit, and the pay application for the street utility improvement project, and the pay application for the athletic complex. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion from Dean, a second from, we have a second from Tim, and we have to do a roll call vote. So Jeff, we'll probably do you last, just to give you a second.
Moyer,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Woodland,
Yeah.
Friedmeier,
Yes.
Sella,
Yes.
Yes. All right, and on our general business, this is exciting. We have, Riley here tonight. Riley is interested in, taking on responsibilities of the emergency management director. And according to city code, we have to have him, and, Darren would graciously help to train him and support him the next year. And, I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Darren or Riley, or if we just want to be excited that we have succession without maybe too much arm twisting, which is wonderful.
All me.
Super, thank you, Dean.
Second.
We have an echo of seconds. I think because I was looking at Gene, I heard him first by Dean, second by Gene. And we'll take a roll call vote.
Just change the date within the resolution.
Thank you.
It says as of January 1st, 2023.
Oh,
Should there be
thank
like
you.
back over?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we're gonna do that. I also wanted to just thank Darren again for 8 years of
Yeah,
faithfully
really.
serving this role.
How many floods? How many?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes, and my favorite Darren story is he's tracking the trains for us through the community and knows at all time if there's a train coming through with toxic chemicals, So I just think only someone who's really taking the role seriously, gets the app and is tracking the trains on a daily basis in case something would happen, which according to Darren is a serious threat and has happened. And so I think when he told me that, I was just like, he's taking this quite seriously, and we're really lucky to have this experience and training, and he can pass on that knowledge to Riley. So that's the great thing, is there'll be this knowledge and this training transfer that Riley and Tony can probably say, we don't always have that, or I can say that too, there's just abrupt transitions, and you're kind of just searching through the Z drive for what was what. So that'll be great.
and my favorite Darren story was after all those years of work, he also became the best PR manager for the city of Wabasha during flood stage, because he's active at the facts, he's credible. He knows what's really happening. I hate getting those calls, because unless I've just talked to Darren, I don't have current information. So the reporters got to him first several times this year, and the public was better informed for it. So thank you for that.
And just finally, Riley just has great project management skills, and he's been really helpful on the FEMA, and so I think he's had what do we call it? Like, he's just taken in a lot of information already. And I think, we've talked a lot, we learned a lot about things that we may want to do in the future, at least if there's another flood, and for documentation to get reimbursed and understanding the process, so.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
even if it's frustrating, going through that FEMA process has been all right.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you both very much, and we can open the roll vote.
Friedmeier,
Yes.
Woodland. Yes. Waller,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Moyer,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Yes. All right, now we have Caroline who's gonna give us our budget presentation. I hope everybody digested this excellent report, but it's always good to hear directly from her.
Okay, I am realizing that I think because there may be more people coming to the next meeting, but we'll have these packets ready to go to understand the budget, but I'm gonna share my screen here with the people on Zoom. And then does someone mind turning the camera over here as well?
just switches over there.
I just put it for me.
Yep. All right. Okay. So, not much has changed, but I will just go over our budget process, the tax levy, just kind of what's changed again for everyone, how we're doing on the strategic plan. And then, some highlights from our departments. Okay, can everyone online see what's on my screen? Yes, okay. All right, so once again, I wish I could move that, I don't. No, there we go. Okay. How the city budget works is we collect property taxes and user fees and state aid. We also have bonding, that all goes into our annual city budget. And our annual city budget runs our operations and funds the capital improvement fund. So here's our tax levy. We just ended up at 6. Again, this is just the Zoom piece is complicated. Okay, we ended the year at 6%, and one major change that we had was retiring some debt on an old street project, and we've added debt called 2023A, that was for the athletic field and the street project. Something that's a little confusing is next year, we're actually paying the debt that we collected, the revenues we collected last year. So next year, the payments that we're gonna be making are again, that old debt. And this large, almost a $500,000 annual payment is coming offline next year. And then here's what we paid out this year is about $500,000 in total. Bonding, and it'll drop to around 400,000 after this, and then we have plans to take on more street debt in the future. So some of the budget highlights of what changed, I said basically 40% of our budget increase came from wage and a big contribution to our capital improvement fund. And you could lump in FICA, Medicare, retirement increases, and that would add to it. Health insurance costs went up by 35,000. We had some increases in ambulance medical supplies and contractor fees, which there's some resulting revenue that's gonna kind of tie in that. So the more revenue we make, the more contractor fees we're paying to help us collect that revenue. Police workman's compensations went up. I think there's hope that it's gonna go down a little bit more, but we needed a budget for that. We do have some anticipated police department overtime, due to some of the vacant positions, although we're continuing to work on strategies to contain that as much as we can. We've got a big election year. We saw a lot of our just annual IT costs go up. Microsoft increased their costs this year. Different departments needed software to keep up with certain regulations that added costs. And then across all departments, we had about an $8,500 increase in fuels. And we had about a $6,000 increase in just full payroll as we increased like our amounts. The good news is where we had a lot of increases in costs, and again, a lot of that was we did add one and a half FTE to the ambulance service. We had a lot of revenues, and the additional position for the ambulance service is expected to pay itself through additional revenues that will, get through being an ALS service. So ambulance service is expecting about an additional $90,000 in revenues. We got an $87,000 increase in local aid to the city of Wabasha. We are expecting $40,000 in township contributions to the ambulance. And because of some mistakes that we made in the past couple of years, we were under collecting from townships, and so it's an additional $20,000, but that's right back where the township should be at. And we're getting $113,000 in a public safety grant from the state of Minnesota, and we're putting that towards our public safety projects and our capital improvement fund. Prior to this year, we were taking boat marina fees and putting that in the capital improvement budget. This year, it's gonna offset our operating budget, so we're expecting over $25,000 in boat fees. An additional $5,000 in liquor licenses because we increased that fee. We took off some debt. We are doing lots of lodging tax collection, so that went up a little bit. And we have a little bit of an increase thanks to the harbor lease agreement. So something that's different this year that stands out is additional local aid from the state of Minnesota. Having some additional revenues across all of our fees, campgrounds, ambulance service. Any questions on that? That's kind of the highlight of what's changed on the budget. Okay. This is a summary sheet I always include about where the increases are. And again, those are mainly different. The major increases are driven by a hire for the ambulance service, additional paid staff, that capital contribution that I talked about. And over time, since last year, our operating costs are increasing 16%, but because our revenues went up 15%, it sort of was not that sort of large impact to the operating budget. Here's a look at where all of our revenues come from. Mostly half is coming from tax levy, 17% from local government aid, and almost a quarter comes from all the fees and charges for service, which we've been increasing lately. Here's just a look at the different departments, with police and public works being the two largest departments. This will go in everyone's property tax bill. This slide talks about if you were to break down the monthly tax bill of about $111 that someone pays for, how many dollars go to each department? So $31 goes to police, 17 to city hall, 24 to public works. And I'll just note that fire and emergency management, that is inclusive of the expected capital improvements for the fire department next year. And this number, I included some of the revenues because if you just look at ambulance costs without including the revenues, it makes you think you're paying more of your tax bill towards the ambulance than you really are. So, budget trends, everything's going up. So over the past 5 years, the general fund expenses have increased 27%, and we've talked a lot about that is just because as we've hired and continue to keep up with inflation and wage increases. So that's the levy increase by year. We kind of went over that in the initial budget workshop. Going back to the tax impact with the budget, we're looking at about an increase of $124 a year for a home valued at $150,000 and $163 a year increase if your home's valued at $200,000. Overall, our tax rate has been going down, but people's assessed values are going up. One thing that I thought was encouraging is where as we've trended, costs are going up, they seem to be going up for all other small city in southeastern Minnesota. So people always like to see, on $180,000 home in Wabasha in 2024, you're gonna pay about a $1,300 tax bill. And in Plainview, you'll also spend about $1,300 on your taxes there. If you live in Lake City, it's about $1,000. I guess other interesting things, just looking at Chatfield, Dodge, Shoner, Yoda, Casson, Pine Island, Spring Valley, Stewartville. We're not the highest, but we're not the lowest either. We seem to be, somewhat in the middle, if not a little bit on the higher end there. So this graph and this presentation is all available on the wabasha.org under our budget website if you want to study it further. Major CIP projects for next year will be the fire station addition, street repairs, and there was a little bit of discussion on potential additional funding coming from the state for streets. If we get that, we have like $2 million worth of street projects and we could afford 200,000. So that money will go straight into our $2 million plan for streets and we would try to do more. I'm not certain if we're getting the money next year. So it's not something we have planned. We have to have a pool skimmer replacement, that's in the budget and was on the agenda today. We're planning for the police car, lifeguard stands, potentially a skateboard park. There may be more discussion on that as we learn the FEMA outcome. And we had a couple other smaller equipment in there, about $5,000. So this is our CIP fund balance projection. We are projecting to expend about $700,000 in capital requests. Included in this number is the fact that we have fully fundraised for the warming house concessions in the athletic field. So that's about a $160,000 project that's fully funded through grants. And we have the grants coming from the state as well. So it does fall off there in 2027. And so we'll have to continue to work with department heads to figure out what we kick out further, maybe what we could borrow, so that, but we don't plan on running out of money in 2027, but we feel like this slate of projects is all really needed projects. This is the strategic plan that council came up with and just kind of showing that we've got, the goals we set in 2022 were the new athletic field, that's almost completed. We set a goal of engaging surrounding townships and financial support for the ambulance. That's been completed. We worked on having mental health services, so I'm not gonna go through all the goals, but just most of them are completed or underway. So I am going to, because I know this is similar to last time, but just kind of go a little quickly through some of the highlights. We talked a lot about the spring flood responses, getting that older infrastructure downtown completed. We've doubled our Facebook reach and we have about 16,000 people that have viewed our website this year. Departments collectively obtain over $76,000 to purchase needed equipment, plant trees, renovate parks, and attend trainings. The police department's calls for service are up. They also had 20 search warrants performed this year. Drug, DUI, burglary, financial, health inspection, and a terroristic threat. They have a new partnership with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehensions for Internet Crime, and they've added Officer Moyer to the team. So this is just looking at police, not quite as high as 2018, but definitely higher than 2022 and 2021. These are some thank you notes that we received this year for the police department. And then fire department is ending the year over 21 calls since last year. They had 104 runs and they raised $6,500 for training. Did a lot of fundraising this year, and then pull tabs seem to be down a little bit since last year. They're going to be contributing $10,000 towards equipment for their department. I said 2022, but I think it's 2024. And they received an airboat grant from the DNR valued at $130,000. Here's a list of a lot of the projects that Public Works did. We had the first ever, Public Works Touch a Truck event. Got a lot done with installing docks this year, and we're fully staffed. And hopefully will remain that way. And I have a picture of Dean sitting on the new city dock, which got installed this year as well, and then some pictures of the new Veterans Park. They have a tracking system, so they've been able to track that they did over 2,000 work orders. And there's a list of the different types of work that the Public Works Department does. Everything from restroom maintenance to forestry. And they had 41 snow events, and they used a lot of salt. 2,490 gallons of brine use, that's amazing. And then for utilities, highlighting, of course, is the downtown street project, and they're in the middle of rehabbing a 25-year-old well. And they also hosted high school students again on wastewater and water treatment. For the library, they had 28,000 visits and did 157 programs, and they raised over $13,000 in grants towards their programs. The pool, I guess I was really impressed. The visitorship was up. They had more revenue this year, but also they did 280 swim lessons and 13 pool parties. And I note that pool revenues were up 62% higher due to increased fees and additional Wabasha Foundation contributions. Oh, this is my note to myself to update that, so clean that up. Port Authority highlights, just again signing the Section 217D agreement, the huge grant. We did 40 new childcare slots with childcare grants. They formed a housing committee that did a study that showed that we need housing in Wabasha. We did $166,000 in 11 grants to Wabasha small businesses for HVAC improvements. And then Mayor Durand led an initiative through the Landon Foundation that was a $50,000 grant that supports locally driven community leadership. And it supported the gorgeous mural that's down by the Eagle Center by the water. That involved tons of volunteer labor. There was a Grandpad Connecting Hope project, a Wabasha food share advocacy project, a community connect, a connections cafe, and a community dog park. That's all being worked on through this program. Did you want to add anything? And then there was the big convening of local leaders to get some leadership training as well.
Yeah, that's still coming, so they're gonna try to stakeholders, maybe some of you will be invited, there's the change makers, of which there were 16, are gonna invite stakeholders for the ideas that they have. Tyler's being a model for action, because he's got his already going. I'm sure some others are working on theirs that doesn't relate to the city, and so I haven't heard about it, but I'm excited for that. And I should point out that that Landon money is all leveraging a lot of other money. The grant project, the grant for the mural, for example, was $5,000. That's a $35,000 project. So
Yeah.
when we give community support, then other agencies give community support. The Southeast Minnesota Arts Council gave support with a local donation. So every project has that as an example. Henderson and County have given support. The Wabasha Area Resource Center. Every project has matched real, financial and humans supporting time. So thank you to everybody who did that work.
And then City Hall, like I said, by the end of the year, we're gonna have $14,000 towards the general fund for staff time for me and Tyler's work on these, administering all these grants. We all provided, everyone, all supported this capital campaign for the new athletic fields. And we achieved $320,000 with that campaign. We collected over $10,000 in first-time lodging tax revenue registrations. Over $50,000 in license improvements. And then again, collectively collected and tracked over $371,000 in revenue such as campsite and marina leases, pool fees and leases, and That definitely goes to Lisa and Jessica, they're making sure everyone's paying their bills that they owe the city. I wrote, and Lisa's helping me now, we did 21 press releases this year. I estimate with the flood, we're probably in at least 60 news, radio, TV on Wabasha. There's Darren, and then me and Emily got to be in a magazine and having coffee together and like we always do.
Right.
Just like said that. So that was fun. And then planning had 14 new home builds this year, so that is a record since 2515. 14 new construction builds valued at over 2.5 million and almost $1 million in improvements that people made to their properties. All led by Wendy here. So, just finally, thank you to all the talented and dedicated department heads and staff, and it was a great year. We accomplished a lot of goals, and thanks for council to reviewing the budget. And I'm sorry if I was rushing at the end, but let me know if I missed anything. Where's his slide? Okay, hold on. That was the star. Let's see. There you go. Okay. So ambulance calls were up 20% this year. They were up 108 calls. More importantly, billing revenue was up 46% this year. Their revenue was up $93,000, which is why we felt comfortable budgeting an extra $90,000 next year. That is not including that we collected about $32,000 this year in township revenue that we had not budgeted for. And they did 23 CPR classes to 197 people. I think last year we did like 7. So CPR classes were up. They delivered their first EMT course to try to train people to become EMTs with 9 participants. And of course, we transitioned to part-time advanced life support service to give better services to the community. Sadie on the team received the Star of Life Award, and then just the magnitude, there are over 17,000 hours of coverage with a pretty small staff and a lot of volunteers, paid on calls, casual, full-time people. And also Ryan has been very active to join statewide ambulance rural sustainability boards. Thank you. Sorry, thank you. Did I miss anyone else? Okay. I don't know how I did that.
Thank you, Caroline. This is so great. It's really a wonderful tool for us, but also for the public and also for you guys, in terms of record keeping and looking back. Seeing Sadie's name up there made me realize too, with regards to the boost grant. Thank you to the city of Wabasha for allowing the most of its employees of any employer to be a part of that change maker retreat. I thought that was really cool. Sadie was there, Tyler was there, Rob Benz was there. Am I missing anybody? That was really key when we went to Blandon. That was also true then. We had Wendy, we had Tony, we had Dylan, we had Dan Metcalf, we had, I guess, Jim from the county, but it was really, really, really cool to see people in local government as a part of that community leadership program, because people don't always know how to make the connection to local government. And so I think once you get to be buddies through a event or a, sort of a training like that, it's really creates new friendships and inroads. So.
Are there any questions online? Hopefully they heard that.
Well, thank you. It's really super.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Any questions for Caroline or comments?
Oh, and,
Really great job to everybody. All right, so Tony, did you want to talk about this one?
Yes.
We know this is coming, but you've given us a good summary.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Kind of figured I better get this on the agenda if we want to get a contractor lined up for, right away next spring. I don't like the fact that it came up on us kind of quick, but the leak's gotta be fixed. Otherwise, we're sucking air through the pumps, we're wrecking the impellers and everything's running extra. Skimmers have been broke for a while, but
haven't really noticed it for inspections and stuff like that, but now I think we had either somebody who come down or they're seeing them and. And they said we gotta have flappers in there and stuff and everything broke, so there's no way of making that work, so I think we finally got to bite the bullet. If everybody's on board and wanna keep the pool going for, another 10 years until we can figure out a plan. I think this is our best bet to do this repair and get things back up and running.
Thanks, Dr. Tony, your comments. I was glad to hear that the pool is otherwise structurally in, in good shape, so we're lucky for that infrastructural aspect.
The only thing I can see happening is if they dig back from the skimmers where the plumbing runs around the pool. Of course, that stuff is almost 40 years old, the PVC rail. So, when they put in a quote, that's the quote estimate, but I guess I'll just work with them and, see how it goes once we start tearing into it and kind of go from there.
Are we gonna last another 10 years with that pool?
The pool boiler is good. Filter is good. The pump is fairly new, the main pump, which is kind of expensive. Structurally, I think it's okay. It's just some of this plumbing that we haven't, we can't get to it because it's underground. It's buried in the walls.
How like this ball in the bottom of the floor?
Yeah, that's pretty much just some grinding and patching. Of course, paint, that'll be several $1,000s, but we can do that after this is done and save, hiring somebody 10,000 to do it.
If we do this, we're good for 10 years.
Yeah, as far as I can see, unless hurricane hits us or something like that.
Until next year.
Yeah, until next year. But, no, the pool's not shifting around. I mean, it's not. It's pretty structurally sound. I've had other people look at it, they're like, how old is this? And, well, it's gonna be 38 years, and they're like, wow, it's not too bad.
I was told about this ball, cutting their feet on the ground or on the bottom. But that's always been an issue, if I can remember.
I think that, so if I remember right, I wasn't in charge of the pool, but I think they spent about 75,000 back in the late 2000s, and they had flooring come in and they ground, all the walls clean, and then they replastered and then repainted. But the spots that we've tried fixing, it's not really our forte, but we tried the last couple of years, and it gets about halfway through the pool season and then lets loose, and then kids are getting cut. So this company just cost $2,000 extra to get this done. Let's fix it and be done with it. Basically, you're going there and tap on things, find out where the house parts are, grind them open. Yeah, but
Well, I don't see what choice we have. I mean,
yeah,
we need to keep it open.
Is that a motion? All right, going first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Thank you for helping us. I was worried about this. This actually makes me feel better, and to hear all the investment that's been made. It's good background for this funding piece. We'll take a roll call. Thank you, Tony.
Woodley. Yes. Freemeyer.
Yes.
Waller.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yeah.
Jensen.
Yeah.
Philip.
yes,
Grant.
Yes. Okay. And we have a resolution for the December donations, if everybody joins. Here, so libraries. All right, to the library, we donated in memory of Betty Gussie, $25 from Kathy Garrity, $10 from anonymous donor. And then also in memory of baby Josephine Muna, $25 from Veterans Hall, a $500 anonymous donation, $250 from Deb and Gary Wamsky, $100 from Tom and Pat Haskett, $200 from John Oxford, $500 from Jane Hager, $390.50 from the Friends of the Library for the Touch of Magic Children's Comedy Show, which is during Grumpy Old Men Festival. For the athletic field complex, $2,000 from Robert and Jill Sill, $2,500 from Perry Dental, and the ambulance, $1,000 from an anonymous donation. Do we have a motion to approve those?
I so move. Second.
Great, we have a first from Tim and a second from Brian. Any further discussion? We'll call for a roll vote.
Jensen. Yes. Moyer,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Freemeyer,
Yes.
Woodley,
Yes.
Sella,
yes,
Duran.
Yes. Any other announcements? Otherwise, we can have a motion to adjourn.
Got the holiday training Saturday.
Thank you for that. Yes, the holiday training, and thank you for all the plannings. That was kind of snuck up. I think I haven't heard from them this month. The holiday training is a Saturday this week for this year. Should be crazy. So there was some improvements suggested by public safety, which I think is really great. I know I got to be on the train. We pulled in and there were people on both sides. I was like, I don't know what's going on. And they said, well, we see this happen sometimes and we really don't want people to cross the tracks, so we want to open both sides. So I anticipate if for some reason that happens again, that's what they'll do. But I like the suggestions for keeping people not parked there. And then, for food donations or cash donations or checks are very much appreciated for Wabasha Food Share. And thank you to Anchor Point Church. They're gonna have cookies and cider. So that's always really nice. So hope to see you there.
Probably gonna be very busy. It's
I would think
very
so.
nice that
Yeah,
day.
yeah, great. Did I hear a motion to adjourn?
It's full breeze though.
Thank you.
If anyone is gonna throw this in the garbage, you can leave it with me and I will. I can make it available. I'll try to make it today.
Thank you. Very good.